go
Okay,
into
well, we're going to go. And so, interesting setup here today, guys, as we had originally scheduled Democrat candidate Dave Duenas, who informed us just this morning that he had a
Emergency.
emergency.
Yeah, so we wish him well.
So we do wish him well. Good, our thoughts and prayers for that emergency. And then former Senator Tony Addo also scheduled to come on today, but he's got a service this morning, so we'll try and get him on a little bit later in the week. And that leaves us with, and then there was one. Wow, lucky you, Senator. Incumbent Senator, Republican Jim Moylan here, last man standing in the KUAM News Zoom room is D2020. They dropped off like flies, but like I said, here you are. Senator, I'm sure you know the format. You get a 1 minute open. We ask you a question. You have 2 minutes to respond, and then you get a 2 minute closing. Okay, and we'll just ride this segment out to the end of the show, and we'll go ahead and get you started here. Again, this is a Republican candidate, Jim Moylan. We had other people scheduled. This is not the Jim Moylan show, all right? But they canceled, and I mean the scheduling. It's like we have people filled up the rest of the day, so I don't really have a lot of room to wiggle here. So, Senator Moylan, if we could just start with your 1 minute opening statement, and your 1 minute starts. Hold on, starts now. Go.
Good morning. Good morning, Chris, Bree, and Jason, and thanks for this opportunity. And I'm it's a one-man show, and it kind of feels like how it is in the legislature for me. But I am Senator Jim Moylan. On the ballot, you see me as James, and I'm seeking the re-election on the 36th Guam legislature. I've been working hard since day one on the 35th Guam legislature, and my main focus was the economy, and I think I've introduced measures that address that. And now I'm focusing also on transparency. I'd like to talk about that in a bit here, and also on public safety as well. So I have measures that I put together, and I'm ready to go for the 36th, just as I did with the 35th. So I'm looking forward to another term to serve the people of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Bree has your first question.
Okay, thank you. The governor, she cited all the superpowers to do what she's done during this pandemic. Do you think that the law should be amended to maybe tighten up on those powers?
You have 2 minutes to respond to the question, Senator, starting now.
Sure. The law is, of course, helpful for our government to exercise what it needs to immediately address the pandemic. How we administer the law, as we've seen, has brought great concerns. Transparency, mostly, and most importantly. I do have a measure that I tend to introduce here and bring up regarding the transparency of Title 10, Chapter 19. It's reporting of these fundings and where they're used at. It's the reporting of the government contracts that are issued out. And it's what the people are really concerned with, I believe. When we don't have the transparency in place, it becomes difficult for the people to trust or understand how we can get through this epidemic. It leads to a lot of confusion. Sure, we can do the FOIAs, but that does take time. But if we have a standard transparency requirement that could be included into the law, as your question is, yes, the law is amendable to include just that. So I'll be looking at that, hopefully, if I can get it done in the 35th, if not, then in the 36th. Thank you.
In this same Emergency Powers Act, it also gives the legislature the authority to, I want to say, revoke the governor's declaration of a public health emergency. If you say currently, if the Republicans were in the majority, would that have been something that you would have pushed for? Why or why not?
Yeah.
Senator, you have 2 minutes to respond to Bree's question starting now.
All right. Yes, that would be something I would push for. But it would be based on the explanation that the governor would provide us. I think that I would also like to include in Chapter 10, Title 19 on the epidemic emergency is that the governor needs to come to the legislature upon renewal. That's every 30 days. When you come before the legislature, then you must justify the reasons why you need to renew this. If the body feels that is in favor, and we represent the people of Guam, the checks and balances, then we can authorize the renewal. At this time, there's no reason for the governor to address us, and nor has the governor addressed the legislature to say why the continuous renewals. Yes, it has been brought out in the public, but the legislature today does have the power to revoke. However, as you can see, you probably won't get the 8 votes to do such a thing. In addition, the governor could probably just renew that state of emergency again after we revoke it, so it can continue on. But once we do revoke it, if the governor does come before us, which would take an amendment to the law, then we would have the authority to stop it. So I would like to see that happen in the 36th. I don't think it would happen in the 35th. And hopefully by that time, of course, we would have better control of the pandemic so that the people can feel safer as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Next question here. What letter grade from A through F would you give the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic? Your 2-minute answer time starts now.
Sure. Just like a report card, there are different sections of math, English, and science. You know, overall, maybe you can say we've been learning from these last 7 months on how to properly protect the community, and there's been changes. And as the governor has said, it's fluid, right? We're learning different things all the time, and there's been agreements and disagreements among the public. Overall, you know, we could do much better, but maybe we'll give a C. However, one thing in particular I would give an F to, which is failing, and that's the transparency. Again, going back to the transparency, not through FOIAs, but just the government coming out. Where are these contracts at? How are we responding to different concerns of the people? Are we just ignoring this, or are we moving forward? You know, with the transparency, I think we won't be having these questions necessarily about, you know, the arguments that you're seeing, these protests that we're seeing as well. And it would give the people more confidence. So F for transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. What letter grade would you give the Guam legislature from A through F and their performance, not just during this pandemic, but during this term? Senator, your 2-minute answer period starts now.
Oh, okay, I think I've been quite outspoken about how I feel our agendas are addressed and what priorities we have, and especially during the pandemic. You know, for the first, I think I was out there in April, shortly after the pandemic was declared. And I was protesting in front of the Guam legislature for 3 days, you know, out there, and to say, you know, we are essential. The Guam legislature is essential. And unemployment, the people of Guam were unemployed, and they're essential as well. And we needed to do some measures that address this. And so we needed to get back to work. And I fought for that. And eventually, after I think the governor had wanted to do an emergency session, and that's why we came back into session. But what did we do? We talked about trails and signs and, you know, different measures that didn't really, I thought, tackled the problem with the pandemic and helping the people of Guam. I introduced a couple of measures also back in, I think it was in March, Bill 350 and 351. 350 was to give $800 from the CARES funds to our community, to the people that were affected by the pandemic due to their jobs lost in hours or just closed down, were let go. And the 351 would have helped about giving $20 million through GITA for the small businesses. You know, my measures never made it to the floor, but only later on to find out the governor created their own programs, so, which is wonderful. And then later on, we learned that the governor only has the control over these CARES money. But I'm hoping by suggestion, that I had some influence on that too. So overall, I did what I could. For my classmates, they'll have to stand up on their own. But for the people of Guam, I think they're going to place their votes hopefully soon in an early voting.
Thank you,
during
Senator.
the general.
Time's up. Did you get a grade though, or because I didn't catch it?
Sorry,
Did you give a grade A through F?
I gave myself an A. How about that?
Bree?
I wanted to follow up on so Senator Amanda Shelton, she was able to appropriate, or I guess prioritize money for the Adzutum and GAFA program, the $10 million. First, the priority would be to use the 10 million from CARES Act funding. But I remember during the debate, and you're very familiar with it, obviously, that you can't really appropriate federal money. So say that you were given that opportunity to appropriate some of that 117 million CARES Act funding, or prioritize the same way that Senator Amanda Shelton was able to, where would you appropriate that money to?
2 minutes starts now.
Okay, thank you. Sure, money needs to be appropriated on a couple of things. Especially because of the pandemic. First, it will be for the people. We need to provide additional funding for them until our economy gets back and going. And economy, by that I mean the businesses opening up and being able to hire back their employees. So one is for the people, and two is for the businesses. Just like I mentioned before, my bill 350 and 351, I would apply 20 million, another 20 million possibly for the people. And we've also left out a lot of the middle class too, and another 20 million for the small businesses too. But one thing's important: when we finally get our economy going again, it's about how we manage our funds. And I don't see that working too well with this budget process that we did. I'm looking at some reorganization with our government to include deputy directors' positions being eliminated. That's like $1.5 million. We have a lot of duplication of government agencies too. And what we learned from the pandemic, we need to really do e-government. And that's going to take funding as well to make our government efficient, because another situation can come around after we finish with this COVID situation. We can also look at vouchers for the people of Guam. So when we do get this money out, be it another 10 million possibly or more, that money is spent on Guam, at stores on Guam, so that we can rejuvenate our economy as well, to circulate that BBT. So those are some of the things I'm looking at. Yes, we can properly use that money to help our economy and the people of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask about the Guam Memorial Hospital. The Army Corps of Engineers, as you know, came out with that report in April of 2020. Basically, their assessment was like, this hospital is just a mess. What will you do in terms of its facilities? Okay, not as personnel. So what will you do if elected to help GMH make renovations or even get a new facility? Or is it even possible, because it doesn't seem like we have any money? Your plans to help GMH.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you get the question?
I did. I was just waiting for Chris to say go.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Okay. Here we go. Your 2 minutes starts now.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Bree. I did introduce a measure before the pandemic, Bill 30535, and that's a public-private partnership for the Guam Memorial Hospital. Okay, so from the management of our hospital, we have a situation that definitely needs improvement, staffing pattern and so forth, right? With a public-private partnership, this will be very helpful. And we can also build the hospital as well with the public-private partnership situation. And then like a lease-to-own situation, which we've seen with John F. Kennedy High School too. So it's just not the structure alone, but it's also the management of the hospital. So eventually, when we do have our new hospital, it will be properly set up and managed. In addition, we can start today with a public-private partnership, and I'm trying to work with Gita on that to get that going too. So yes, we need a new hospital, but yes, we also need, I think, to have this managed by a public-private partnership. And I also like to see where in the world is that $10 million that we already approved to help fix our hospital. I can imagine within the past week, all this rain that's happened, right? All the towels that are wet in the hallways and so forth, the leaking around the nursing station. You know, the first frontliners are doing their best, but the legislature already approved $10 million and it hasn't even gotten there. Again, it goes back to the public-private partnership. I bet you if that was in place today, they'll be demanding for that money to get released and spent on the proper way. So that's what I'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator, we all know that you've written several letters to the governor on various issues. You've also introduced several bills on various issues. But what would you say to those who say, you know, well, bills are bills, you send them over. I don't even know if you ever had a public hearing, and you sent letters. But what have you really done in this legislature during your term that you can say accomplished?
You need the full 2 minutes? No, we got 2 minutes, Senator, starting now.
All right. Thank you. Well, you know, I can also ask the question too, what have all the other senators done too? There's 15 of us, but what I can do is explain about myself. I'm going to continue to ask the question to Adelup. Adelup is the overall charge of running this government. And as legislatures, we are the checks and balances of the government of Guam. And that's what we're supposed to do. I don't necessarily just challenge and say not what to do or just point things out. I also offer solutions with that, with my different measures that I propose. If the majority feels that that's not the priority and wants to look at different things, as you've seen with our agenda, you know, if we want to see more action or more bills passed and some of the people like my bills, well, then please go out and vote. This is how you're going to make your voice heard. In addition, you know, the legislature has complete control of oversight hearings too. You know, and these are situations that the public is bringing up. We should have oversight hearings continuously until we get the answers we want, or until we make Adelup see what the people are really asking. Who we represent. We represent the people, and we are the checks and balances. OPA has given great reports. The most latest one on the Liberation Day events, right? And that's all questions. So what's going to happen to that? You know, I wonder, right? Gura, OPA did another great one on Gura too, right? So what's going to happen to that? Oh, I wonder as well, right? But what I really want to fight for today, and I'm going to do it continuously, is the tax refunds. We have $30 million in Section 30 money, and that should be tax refunds. Why are we waiting? I don't know. So I'm going to continue to fight for that. If I can't get my bills passed, well, I'm going to raise my voice and let the people know I'm fighting for them. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You have anything else? We'll go to the closing. Did you have another one?
I always have questions.
Go ahead. Let's hear one more.
I wanted to hear more about your plans, if you could be a little bit more specific in terms of helping the business community that's struggling. I mean, there's a protest or community rally, excuse me, scheduled for this Wednesday by the Chamber of Commerce. And so what are your specific plans to help the private sector?
2 minutes starts now, Senator.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bree. The economy is what's going to help our government provide the services necessary. And the economy is funded by corporate tax, the greatest ones, corporate tax and employee withholding tax too. And that's based on small businesses opening their doors. And we need to lessen those restrictions. And I believe that small businesses are following the guidelines. We're following the CDC requirements. You know? But they need their services too provided by the government. Like on the, let me see, the Realtors Association. I was informed that there's over $2 billion in real estate transactions and constructions that is on hold because we can't get these permits from the government of Guam because they're not open completely and are just behind. So why are we doing that? You know, we have all this CARES money that small businesses, that the government can use for the proper protections and paneling and distancing and doing everything they can to make the CDC requirements. Whereas small businesses, they don't get the funding to disinfect their entire building or put up plastic borders in between. That's all out of pocket as well. So to help the small businesses and to build our economy, we need to open up these government agencies that are a must for us, for the small businesses to survive. So that's the main focus. Of course, some of these small businesses have to close down, but they disinfect in one day and they're open the next day because they must provide the essentials that we need to keep us safe and fed. So those are some of the things I'll focus on if I'd like to back into the 36.
Thank you.
Today I'll still fight for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. 2-minute closing statement starts now.
Well, I think from day one, I'm hoping folks notice that I took off running. I introduced bills to reduce the BBT from 4% to from 5% back to 4%. Reduce the liquid fuel tax as well. I introduced measures for new industries, the drone industry, and we had a public hearing for that as also, and also distribution and fulfillment centers like Amazon. We had a public hearing for that as well also. And to attract these businesses to Guam to diversify our economy, I've introduced measures for the government on this CARES funding to help the people and also to help small businesses. And I'll continue to do that. So as a candidate for the 36 Guam legislature, this is where I'm going to take off again and with running hard too. I think I kept my word that I'll be fighting for the economy, and I'm doing that today. And I've also learned a lot being in the 35th, especially about transparency. And I tell you, I think some people tell me I'm on the radio too much, but I answer the questions. I enjoy coming before the media in order to be transparent and to show the people of Guam that what I'm doing is I'll continue to fight to do so. And if they don't like it, well, then I have the ability to understand that too. So I'm well transparent. And as a candidate, I wish to continue on serving the people of Guam as your senator for another time. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Senator Moylan. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
You guys are getting ready to go into session, right?
Yes, 10 o'clock, actually. I'm a few minutes late. I got to run over. I'm right across the street.
Okay. Okay, Senator. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wash your hands. Grab you some virtual Bucci Bucci. It's low fat, low to no fat.
Good luck
on
on
the way
session.
out, okay? Bring some for your colleagues.
Okay.
I'm telling you, maybe they'll give you a public hearing if you bring them a little Bucci Bucci. Try that route. Kill them with kindness.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Senator.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
okay,
Later.
yes. 10:08. Good job today, Bree.
Good job.
Takeaways from the show. Hi, Jason.
Yeah, I just want to add a
Okay.
takeaway because when we were talking to public health and they were actually breaking down the buy